digital media taking over the world? And what does this mean for the future of television? Well, nothing is certain in an ever-changing environment, but we asked a few industry experts to take out their crystal ball and give us a glimpse of what they think the trends will be for 2011. All that and more coming up on Media and Money. I'm Jackie Nell. In an ever-changing environment, the only constant is change. Well, joining me today are some industry experts to unpack some trends for 2011. Associate Director at Delloite, Shiroda Rapeti, Managing Director at Ad Therapy, Gillian, Rightford, and Strategic Planning Director at Brand Activation, Jason Knight. Welcome to the show. Yeah. So, from Deloitte's point of view, every year these studies get done on trend analysis, and today particularly we're looking at the Deloitte analysis and predictions. Before we get into to all the predictions and break it down, Shiroda, can you tell us in a nutshell how this is going about, the actual study?
Jackie, behind our study lies many hours of research, thousands of hours of research conducted by Deloitte offices around the world. We actually have Deloitte labs as well, so if we're calling a trend on a particular technology, that would go into various big tests, comparative tests, user-based research, and that then informs the research and us calling the trends, for the next 10 to 18 months. What's very special about the Deloitte report this year is that it's for the first time we've combined technology, media and telecommunications into one predictions report, and I think that speaks very much to the fact that convergence is now making a very pronounced statement about the three areas.
Right. What was very interesting to me and exciting, I must say, is if you look at the breakdown of media, television is here to stay.
Oh, absolutely, Jackie. I think everybody is excited about that, actually. We find that against the prophecy calling for imminent obsolescence on television, we find that we can very safely call that television will solidify its super media status this year.
Jason, do you agree? And what does this mean for advertisers?
I think that it's always interesting looking at what research comes out, and every year there's a death of something or sort of a rise of something else, and people have been calling the death of TV for a while, and it's not really surprised that it's regained that status. I think the interesting thing is that I think we're going to continue to see the end of vertical, so the TV just merely becomes another screen on which we view content.
All right.
So whether we view interesting content on a TV or on a tablet or on a phone or on a computer, sort of the ubiquity of content becomes an interesting point, and not necessarily the vertical, the media descriptor that we assign to it.
It's also said the study forecast on TV ad revenue for 2011 shows that the 30-second ad is not on its way out. Gillian, what does this mean for advertisers?
Well, I think ironically, TV is probably going to go back to what it started as a really fantastic medium to build brands audio-visually and all of that sort of thing. I think that what's happening is that people are looking to other areas to find information about brands. So TV becomes really almost a pure brand building resource as opposed to an information channel.
Because there are so many other...
You will go somewhere else to find more detailed information, but the TV, the 30-second ad may direct you there.
Well, that brings me to my next question to Jason, is to say that can a 30-second ad now stand alone, or should it rather be an integrated approach in terms of all the other platforms?
Look, I think integration is always the holy grail when it comes to communication, and just to build on Jilly's point, I think that what advertisers and marketers need to pay careful attention to now is the role of each medium in the communication mix.
Right.
So understanding the nuance of the communication, of the challenge in order to do a specific brand role. I think the days of TV performing all roles has definitely changed. And understanding the consumer journey, and understanding why and how consumers interact with different media, and how to place appropriate messaging and communication in those spaces that will deliver the results.
Shiroda, the study also said that viewers will be watching more television. How so?
Oh, absolutely. We are even predicting more growth, so let alone increasing the market by about 40 million some odd users. We're actually predicting a 20% increase in pay TV revenues, for example, and we think that the market will show that growth in the BRIC countries, the Brazil, Russia's, India, China's, and there are some other untapped markets, of course, in the EMEA regions, in the African region, that we think after we
Emerging
looked at
markets.
this in the emerging markets.
Why do you
as
think
well.
that is, Gillian?
Well, I'm not sure I agree. Because what I think is quite interesting is that yes, TV is growing, but is it TV the thing, or as Jason said, TV the content?
As part of.
Because one of my international students was from America. He's never owned a TV in his life before, but obviously he watches a lot of TV, consumes it on his computer. So what I'm interested in is where is the growth coming from? Is it somebody sitting in their lounge watching TV, or is it somebody watching content created for TV on a computer?
The study does say, Gillian, interesting on your point, that TV will retain the status as the media that most powerfully influences content creation in other media sectors. So,
absolutely.
i.e. book sales, let's look at Oprah,
Yeah.
i.e. magazine sales, Oprah, that kind of thing. So that's exactly what you were saying.
Yeah, and I think that what that leads to is how marketers are going to work with their agencies. So,
Okay.
whether they're working just purely with digital agencies to create content for digital, or whether they're taking the lead from the creative idea that's been created by the brand agency.
Yeah, because it does say, yeah, in today's world, TV is the medium around which all other will resolve.
Yeah. That is the traditional way. There are some great ideas coming out of people that are doing promotional campaigns, so it needs to be flexible. But I think what marketers need to decide is who owns the idea around which everything circulates.
And I think we also need to understand the dynamic, the qualitative versus quantitative understanding of TV, because then quantitatively, it is sort of the biggest medium to create awareness and to create impact.
Right.
But whether you look at, if you look at the quality of the interaction and the intimacy of an interaction and personalization, which consumers are looking for, maybe it's not the best medium to deliver. So while TV as a medium is growing and will continue to be a power medium, doesn't necessarily mean that it is the most powerful medium in getting a relevant message across to your market. So understanding the difference, or a sale, or facilitating a sale, which a lot of the other channels are starting to implement. So the balance between the quantity and the quality when looking at TV is really important from a marketer's point of view.
Shiroda.
So, Jackie, I really want to emphasize what underpins that predicted growth. If we look at Africa and if we look at the emerging continents, infrastructure is still part of the investment table stakes. So there's multi-billion rand budgets that have been set aside to digitize infrastructure, to liberalize. I think the deregulation is also introducing very more new players. So what we're finding is that amidst all of this change, there is presented an opportunity through this infrastructure development and the liberalization of the airways for more content to make its way. And what better platform than the primary platform of television? Because our study further reinforces that yes, the 30-second ad is here to stay, irrespective of digital video recorders being increasing in sales. We also find that television is still the focal point, converging families and friends around the television set. We find that it is about the breaking news, it is about the headlines, it is about the sport, the genre of content that is still the compelling reason for television to remain that focal point. But to the points that you made, Gillian, it's amidst the other changes that there will be social networking. There is an increase in smartphone growth and in the tablet growth. So amidst all of that, television, we predict, will solidify and retain its.
And we're going to get into that in more detail after the break. But before we go to break, what I found was very interesting was the PVRs. PVR versus the 30-second ad. And you'd think that it'd be a threat, but the Delloite study said no, not really.
Absolutely. I think I was particularly amused. I spent many years of my life in a television production broadcasting background. And I was particularly amused when our study found that even with fast forwarding, a 30-second ad with very distinctive imaging at 12 times the speed still makes an impression on the viewer. Even though the ad is fast forwarded, if it is, because we find if the ad is strategically placed in between programming, people then purposefully watch for the ad in order to skip it.
Jason, what does this mean for you as an advertiser? Opportunity?
Look, I think this debate always comes up, and it's a really interesting one. I think that looking at the fact that imagery is still portrayed, even though it is fast forwarded, is we can't as communicators be aiming to resonate through a fast forwarded TV ad. And I think that if you look at where content is placed, whether it be on a TV, or whether it be in the internet, or whether it be on radio or driving past a billboard, our ability to zone out is always there. So it doesn't necessarily speak to the medium, it speaks to the content, and the challenge is to create relevant and compelling enough content that consumers actually want to watch, because I do think that there is some advertising that's engaging, that's entertaining, and that does stop people and demand their attention. Where there's others that will just flick through, and if somebody's flicking through and they happen to see some of my imagery, I think, sure, I don't want to be in that space. I don't want to be vying for that tiny little bit of
but
place.
what is nice is if they see enough of your imagery to want to rewind
Absolutely.
the PVR and then watch it
And
again, which is what I do.
Gillian, do you think it's a threat,
No,
PVR,
not at all.
to advertising?
Not at all. I think it's an
To
opportunity.
bad advertising it is.
It's a threat to bad advertising, but it's an opportunity to be more creative and make advertising that people really want to watch. Nobody wants to watch an advertising channel. That's just not going to happen. But if you see something that is interesting enough during a break that it piques your interest, you want to go back and have a look at it again and then watch it properly.
And you look at people searching out content and searching out ads. If somebody
Right.
sees something they really like, they'll go onto YouTube
They
and
go to
they'll watch it
YouTube,
100
yeah,
times.
absolutely.
And that's why we get millions of views
Consumers
on YouTube.
have more
because
and more say and choice today, and I think as an advertiser you need to step up to the plate more and more. It becomes more and more challenging, isn't it?
and more exciting. I think it's I think
Absolutely.
the challenges are very real, and in the attention economy where people are strapped for time and strapped for the ability to watch, then it needs to be
It's
really
breaking
real
through that
and
clutter, isn't it,
interesting and
always?
compelling, yeah.
Well, let's leave it there. Let's take that break.